Get ready for an hour filled with conspiracies, UFOs, ghosts, the paranormal, legends, and myths from around the world. Chasing Prophecy Radio, where the paranormal is supernatural. With your hosts, Shawn Kelly, Jennie Nicassio, and Jason Iampietro. Welcome to the Chasing Prophecy Radio, and here are your hosts, Shawn, Jennie, and Jason.
Little bit of what's going out there. So there's a lot of chatter on the internet of widespread voter fraud and how could Trump's numbers fall overnight on election day. And that's President Trump may have secretly have watermarked mail-in ballots to prove some of the ballots were fraudulent. And most recent claims is the hammer and scorecard. I learned a little bit about that the other night. And what it is a surveillance tool designed to seek out terrorists that were started in 2003. The Biden administration converted it into a surveillance tool to listen to American people and record what they were doing. The scorecard application is like the apps on your iPhone, but they can manipulate voting data to keep it within 3%. Yes, folks, 3%. So it's not that obvious. So it could have been what happened. They could have switched Trump votes to Biden, and which could have been what they wanted to do, the Dems. And I think that's what they could have did. So we're going to talk about a little bit about that too. But it's clearly one of the most subtle ways of changing voting that there is today. And that is the first massive attack on the United States history. So there will never be a free election if this is what happened, if this was done. And what happens if President Trump doesn't concede? Guys, will the 12th Amendment come into play? We're going to discuss this and much more with our guests this evening. We have Chris Eryx, the host of Flex the Truth, and we also have a very important researcher and contributor to the Indoctrination show with David Schinniger. And Kellyanne, she's with us. So Chris and Kelly, welcome to Chasing Prophecy. Thanks for joining us tonight with our co-host, Shawn Kelly and Jason. Tell our listeners what's going on out there, guys. Shawn, Jason, are you ready for a ride?
Yes, I am.
So
nice to be here.
Great. I'm so glad you can make it, Kelly. I was worried we wouldn't get you on, Kellyanne and Chris. Thank you. So whoever wants to jump in first, you heard what my little monologue was. You know what we're talking about. So who wants to go first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
First of all, I'm blessed and honored and humbled to be on your show. It is watching like a sci-fi horror comedy movie all in one. He told us 2 years ago that this was going to be a movie. I didn't understand what he meant by that, but we're seeing all the pieces now come in play. You can see that it truly is a movie. I mean, it's literally a movie. It's like cat and mouse. It's like him playing 4D chess and everybody else is still stuck on playing checkers.
Absolutely.
And, if you ever studied or you read the book Art of War, it's rumored that President Trump loves that book. And it talks about keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. You make a trap, you set it, you invite them in, you let the enemy manipulate inside of the trap, and then you swoop in and you get them. And so literally he knew that night. I mean, he literally went and told them, hey, we were sitting there the night of election in the Eisenhower building. They have a room set up with all computers, and we watched the election. We watched it happen. I personally went on live. I was asked to do a live feed on election night, and I could not believe in front of my eyes when I saw votes not just going up for Biden, but Trump was losing votes. And I remember saying live, like, what's going on? And I remember the next day doing some research, and a clerk in Fairfax, Virginia, said we put 100,000 votes underneath Trump accidentally. And that raised the red flag to me. And then they swapped it and put it under Biden. I was like, well, where did they get this group of 100,000 votes? Because usually on election night, you're pulling out an envelope with a ballot, one for Biden, one for Trump, two for Biden. How did you get a collection in a matter of minutes? It was literally 5 minutes, and that wasn't the only state, and it happened state after state. And obviously, I knew personally, because being a digital soldier and being part of 17Q for the last 2 years, he told us he was going to mark them, and nobody really believed it. I think that was the problem, was we did not believe that they were watermarked. And not only were they watermarked, but they were GPS. So they could literally see where those ballots were at any given time. And to give you an example, his last press conference, Rudy Giuliani, he had it outside of Four Seasons landscaping supply. And the news mocked him, and the Democrats mocked him. And the reason he did it there is because their GPS took them there.
Is there proof that they are watermarked? Kelly Ann, do you have any information on that?
There's quite a lot of chatter about that, and I absolutely believe that they have. If you remember those executive orders and those the deal he made with Kodak earlier this year. Kodak is a chemical company, and I'm thinking that Kodak possibly supplied some of those chemicals because it's not an ink, it's a chemical that does a chemical change within the paper that's not. Right, yeah, it's not noticeable to the visible eye. And then I think it was 6-7 years ago, they were studying, and they successfully were putting these micro thin, I mean, you couldn't even see them, RFID chips inside of money in Europe. And they were able to successfully track that money. And that's, just the spin as a paper ballot. So they had multiple, and then they have the little quantum dots that are also in it. So there's multiple safeguards in this. And they tracked them right there. And if you look, those landscaping company, Four Seasons, is in every one of the swing states. It's in Saudi Arabia and London. Wow. And we were looking them up on GPS, and they look like garbage dumps, some of them. Right. One of them had broke down, burnt out cars just sitting in the parking lot. These aren't being used. There's no landscape equipment at these places. This is clearly a money laundering business. Yeah. And the employees were all deceased people that were also donors to Act Blue and the DNC.
Right. Yes, you're correct. And, what's crazy about that, to touch upon that, is the Delaware crematorium right across the street. I mean, you talk about, Delaware. Hello, what was Biden Senator, Delaware, right? And here's Delaware crematorium. And then next door, they're making fun, and there's Fantasy Island. But there's a reason Fantasy Island comes into play when you dig deeper. And this is just me. This is my intuition and my feelings of connecting the dots. I believe child trafficking was going on there. And,
I do too.
And next door to that, and I'm going to get excited here, a little passionate. Here's why. Patton Oswalt, if you know him, he's a comedian, well-known pedophile. I've got pictures. And he went off.
Comet ping pong.
It goes back to exactly, Kel. It goes back to Pizzagate, right? And so he came out and he totally flipped out and was making fun of the Fantasy Island because he knew. And then what they didn't see were the cameras. Did we already know prior to and set up surveillance all around? Right, and have the trucks coming in and having the trucks coming out. Right up the road is the convention center in Philadelphia. So it's definitely within an earshot's mark. And then you have Harvest Ministries.
Okay.
You have Harvest Ministries right next door to that. Again, when I think of Harvest, I think of two things: ballots and organs, right? And on the banner, it says, "Feed my people." Now, that to me is a very bizarre banner and slogan to have for a faith, for a church. So he also said, Cal, too, I don't know if you heard this, he said that this election was going to be Keystone. Now, being from Pennsylvania, we automatically think, it's Pennsylvania, right? But then I looked up Keystone in the dictionary, and I found out that Keystone is the rock, right? And it brings everything together.
Yeah.
And so, wow, like this election could tie everything, the Biden laptop, the collusion, but this one election, and that's why I think Donald Trump did not concede, is because this is not about an election. I've told everybody this. This is about good versus evil.
Absolutely.
This is about the corruption. This is about child trafficking. This is about demon craps, that what they've been doing for decades and decades with our children. Mm-hmm. And also, what I found out, and this really blew my mind, I did not know there were tunnels underneath Philadelphia. And so now I started doing research and seeing, were there any explosions? Because when they traffic children, they traffic them underneath. Central Park, I'm originally born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. Central Park, my gosh, I was there at least once a month, especially as a child. But they were trafficking children right underneath. I never knew, but there was a railroad system that used to be there. Yeah. And so I found out that in Philadelphia, there was, the night of the looting and the rioting, mm-hmm. there were explosions that melted windows.
Wow.
So
this is like insane.
I'm telling you, when it comes out, when you talk about paranormal, mm-hmm. this is definitely not normal.
No,
and
it's not.
And it ties into, what we have been told for so many years. When I sit here and I think about, 800,000 children being gone every single, where'd those kids go? And then you start looking and looking and looking, and we finally have a president that cares enough to really search. And if you saw the arrest today, I put it on my live, 126 arrests were made of child predators from ICE. And coincidentally enough, ICE Twitter account got nuked.
Wow.
So they deleted the account. Yes, that happened today.
Let me ask you this, you guys, all right? When do you think Trump's going to get elected? When do you think they're going to actually say, hey, Biden, you lost, Trump, you won? Kellyanne, can you answer that?
I think it's coming soon because, they're supposed to have saved those ballots for mm-hmm. 22 months. They don't have the legit ones. They have the fake ones. They have the same ones that in Michigan and Pennsylvania in certain computers were scanned 6 to 10 times each. And they knew it. This lady was giving an interview and she said that the number wasn't supposed to go over 50 ballots. And she was looking and it was 500. So each of those ballots got scanned 10 times apiece.
10 times, wow.
10 times. Now, how about the glitches? What do you, Kellyanne, what about the glitches in the machines?
There is no glitch. They purposely put a back door in that. In the user manual for Dominion machines, they told them how to literally delete data from the machines, and they could plug in those corrupted the flash drives from Korea. There's like 62,000 of them floating around that they knew had that corrupted software, and they could put in any number that they wanted. They knew it. They knew it the whole time. 2 years ago, they addressed the issues of, they knew that Dominion was bad, that there were huge errors going on and very sketchy, and still 30 states chose to use them, including all the swing states that they knew were vital. This is a Canadian company that purchased two separate American companies and combined them.
Correct.
They knew what they were doing.
Insane.
Yeah.
And to piggy off exactly what Kelly said, we're like thunder and lightning, me and you and Kelly. She's exactly right in that, you know, what's crazy about that is that at any given time, so Trump set out a tweet. He sends out, the reason, does everybody want to know why Donald Trump tweets more than a teenager?
He's sending comms. There's comms.
Right. There's codes, there's comms, there's, you know, he can't get his message out through the media and through the news. So one of the tweets he had was Philadelphia. Kelly, do you remember this tweet when he purposely...
With the two L's.
He purposely spelled Philadelphia with two L's. Now, why was that a code? Here's why. Because what they did is, when you went in, they had on the fake ballots, or even on the regular ones, they had Republican spelled the right way, and they had Republican spelled the wrong way. So if it was marked that, when that went through the computer, it threw that vote out.
Rejected it, yeah.
Wow.
It rejected it, and you would never know that. But you know what you guys said, I put this out 2 days ago. It got ejected, obviously, Facebook and YouTube. But here's what I wanted to tell you. So
the fact checkers.
Yes, yeah, right, yeah, exactly. So I had said on my live, somebody said to me, Chris, in the 5 states, how many ballots do you think are truly fraud? I said 10 million. They were like, 10 million? I said 10 million. And here's what came out from Judicial Watch. So a recount of the voting ballots nationwide by the National Guard happened on Sunday. And to prevent fraud, official ballots had been printed with an invisible, unbreakable code watermark and registered on quantum blockchain system. In 5 states, 14 million ballots were put through a laser scanner. Are you ready for this, guys? 78% failed because there was no watermark. That means 10 million, what is the math? 820,000 ballots were fraud in 5 states. So if you go ahead, they put it in a quantum computer, all the validated ballots. Trump won the re-election by over 80% with 73.5 million votes, and Biden 25.9 million in a major landslide. So, we won a lawsuit today, that I was on the news on Friday. I won against Antifa, downtown Pittsburgh, me versus Antifa.
Oh my God.
Another day's story. That was fun. But what I can tell you is they interviewed me and they said, well, what do you think? Why are you down here? Why did you start the protest? And I said, because it is election day. It is not election week, month, year. Whatever ballot is after 8 p.m., c'est la vie. And sure enough, we won the lawsuit today. They are not going to count.
That's
we have
crazy.
2 more
they can't change the Constitution. They can't change what the federal law is. Federal law supersedes state law.
Wow. Let's pause for just one moment. We're going to open the lines. If you have a question or comment, or you want to just talk and join the discussion, the number is 504-273-7379. 504-273-7379. Join the conversation. Okay, guys, get back to it.
Hey, Jason, how are you doing, buddy?
Oh, I'm doing all right. How about you?
I'm learning a lot tonight, buddy.
We haven't heard you quiet back there.
Yeah,
I'm
just
just
back
trying to
and join the show.
Yeah.
Kelly, are you from Pittsburgh?
Yes.
It's Kelly from Pittsburgh. Kelly, you from Pittsburgh?
I'm from the Cleveland area.
Oh, okay. I have a huge business in Cleveland. We make sure we swap contacts.
Oh, for sure.
So let's
For sure.
get back
I'm like
to
halfway between Erie and Cleveland there.
Okay.
and let's get back to this discussion. What else is going on besides these fake fraudulent votes? What about the I've seen the websites of the people in Pennsylvania who were born in the 1800s. No.
Crazy. Dead people.
And they applied for the right in March 2020 something last year.
Yes.
How is this even possible?
Well, apparently Donald Trump, when he came to Butler and had 56,000, he should have went to the cemetery.
Yes, he should have.
Because I'm sorry, because I just don't understand how you have 21,000 people dead voting in one state, and they have over 10,000 people that are dead in another state. I mean, for me, if I was on the other side and Trump had done this, I would be embarrassed just to be an American. Just even one dead person is they always say, if it happens once, it's by accident. More than once, it's on purpose.
Must be the sixth sense.
Biden should be really embarrassed because have you heard the stories yet about people's, the registered animals that are being converted, their microchip numbers being converted to Social Security numbers?
Yeah.
They're doing that too.
They're all being 18-year-old dogs, supposedly. They're all 18 years old exactly, and they are service pets, and they voted in the election.
Oh, my God.
No.
But see, I don't understand. How can the Democrats be so gullible and so twisted to think that this is legit?
Jen,
they don't even care. They don't care.
I was just going to say, they're brazen. Well, listen, when you're working for the devil, you don't care. You just don't care. They were having classes training people how to fix the election. They took 13-year-old minors in high school and had classes. Like those kids will have a life of crime the rest of their life. For $450 or something? And I have an ad right now. They're trying to get people against Trump here in Pennsylvania, $1,500. They'll pay you to drive and everything. So they're just putting everything out, but you got to understand why, guys. They're fighting for their lives.
They're fighting for their lives.
This is not an election. This is it. Their lives are, like everybody just said about what's going on with Trump and, defense. You know why? Because you just took the people from Q, the military people, and just put them in the White House and in the Pentagon. Why? Because he's ready.
You can't even say Q on the internet.
It's you can and you can't. I say 16 plus
17, that's all I say.
17, you know what I mean?
Dave's show, if you say it during the live stream through Facebook, it will drop it. It will completely drop the feed and occasionally on YouTube. And they started giving us a 20 to 30 second lag in the show.
Oh my God.
As well.
Yep.
And so now every time I call in on the show, we hear massive, almost like wave sounds from where it's either their software, their AI software, or somebody actually listening. And certain subjects, boom, our feed gets cut.
Wow. How about cloning?
So let me tell you something. The world does not even know what is about to happen because it's all going to come out. You're walking around people that are cloned and you don't even know it. I mean, Biden, so I'll give you an example. Biden and Pelosi. So everybody thinks they have dementia, and Hillary Clinton. No, they have what's called Kuru, Kuru. You get it from cannibalism. You get it from drinking blood.
Oh, my. Yeah, that disease that breaks down the brain.
Yeah. And so what happens is these clones, see, everybody, so this started back at JFK. The FBI wanted, and CIA told JFK, we want a clone. JFK said, absolutely not. That was one of the reasons why they wanted him assassinated. The other one was obviously the Federal Reserve, right? So cloning's been going on. Michael Jackson was the first celebrity ever cloned at Clone8 in Canada. Every single president has been cloned, but that's done differently. That is done by a surrogate mother, okay, that they hire. The other side, now the reason I call them demon craps is because when they are cloned, there is an actual demon inside of them. And it is a reptilian. And if you ever see or heard of the Black Eye Club, or you've seen celebrities with a black eye, just one black eye, there's pictures of the Pope and Obama. It's because they have been cloned. Celebrities are all cloned, depending on how much of an influence you are. I hung out with Wiz Khalifa a year ago here in Pittsburgh. Had I known what I know now, that conversation meeting would have been different, because now I know all about cloning. And it goes back, if you look at Britney Spears, she did a song about cloning.
Okay, wait a minute. Let me just stop you right there.
Yeah.
Let me just stop you. Well, if you're doing cloning, doesn't it take years, to clone a human being?
No.
I mean,
No.
unless they're using some fast forward technique.
So what happens is, exactly. So what happens, if you look at all the cattle, all they need is food, right? They take 2 cells from your body, they hit it with a charge, an electric charge. All that needs is just the feed. So they feed it cattle, feed it sheep.
Well, how does it grow so fast?
It grows because of the inside of the fluid, almost like the Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I don't know if you ever saw that movie.
Yeah.
But that's how they grow. So the first month, what happens is they're almost in a coma, because the reptilian is taking over the soul. This is crazy, but you're going to see it. Hence, that's why Joe Biden's eyes are black.
Okay. Joe
Kamala's eyes are black.
Okay.
They are soulless.
Well, I can understand that. I believe they're soulless.
Well, here's why, Jen, because there's no human being on this planet, I believe, that could do the atrocities that I have seen to children. I don't care. I mean, you could be criminal and you could be crazy, but you have to be demonic. I met with the head of MUFON the other day, and he verified it with me. He told me, he's like, Chris, he goes, it goes back to the ancient days of Egypt. Who were their gods? The aliens. And the aliens showed them how to sacrifice and drink blood.
Wow.
And so now they found a way that they could live forever. And by Al Gore, I don't know if you remember Al Gore. Does anybody remember him getting stopped at the airport? That one time he had a suitcase of blood, packets of blood.
I never heard that one.
I remember.
Really?
Yes. Yes.
I have to go research that one. I don't know if Shawn, have you ever heard that one?
Never heard of that one.
And research it, you'll see. Yeah, he got stopped. And that's why they look so young. Look at your celebrities. Look at a picture of Johnny.
We're going back to the Transylvania, where Dracula drank blood to keep himself young. I don't know if that's true or not.
That's the adrenochrome.
Yeah, the adrenochrome. Prince Charles comes from Vlad.
Well,
right.
I truly do believe that we are in a spiritual war against good and evil, and we can't let the evil win, of course.
No.
And I just wish all this stuff with Hunter Biden would have came out sooner, or everything.
Oh, yes.
Have
you seen some of the stuff on that?
Yeah, I've seen some of the stuff on it. I got that from David's show.
Did you see the children? Did you see the children? Did you see what he did with children?
I just saw.
I saw what he did with his niece.
I never
His niece,
saw
he
the
tied
picture.
her up. Did you see her tie her up and put a $1 million mark on her?
No, I didn't
see
that.
I didn't see that.
I didn't see that. But I did see some of the pictures.
And, it's not Hunter Biden's fault. All of these children, these politicians been passed around, and the celebrities pass them around, and because that is part of the culture. That is part of their secret society. Correct. Exactly. They're born for that. And then you want to go into Joe Biden.
Well, we're going back to the cabal and all that, how these people who have money and everything,
yes,
their influence, it's been going on for centuries. I mean, I don't know,
And
but
that's the cloning part of the deep state. There are DUMBs, like military bases. I just found one. I found in Pittsburgh, in New Kensington, right here, literally 45 minutes away from me, is ancient demonics, and in the city of Pittsburgh, all underneath Pittsburgh are tunnels. And I didn't realize it until I found out when they wanted to do the train system.
wow.
Remember, they wanted to do the train underneath the water of Pittsburgh. Yeah. So that's how I found out. But there's over 200 DUMBs in the United States, and that's where they are. They're hidden 400, 600, 700 feet underneath ground. And we're about to see it. Trump wants to tell us, and that is against everything. There's supposed to be no disclosure whatsoever.
Well, I hope.
He wants to tell. Well, you remember what he said? There's going to be a woman, the first woman on the moon, and the first person on Mars. And there's a reason why he said it at he says at every rally, and the only reason he's saying that is because he's going to have disclosure. I totally believe he's going to tell us.
Okay, this Saturday coming up, the Million March. Okay, he's supposed to speak. What do you think I think he's going to tell people he's not going to concede at all, no matter what.
I think he's going to say he won. And
yeah.
The mayor of D.C. is actually trying to stop it already by declaring that every person coming in
has to have temperature
Washington, D.C. has to have a COVID test before they come in or before they leave to try to slow them down.
Is that why?
You imagine a million Trump supporters?
Oh.
That's okay.
So that's why you see in the news all this COVID escalation going on, right?
Michigan, right? Chicago, New York. You're going to see them all shut it down. I'm waiting for Pennsylvania to shut it down too.
Ohio's being shut down.
It's insane.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. This is not supposed to be happening right now. This is. No. We have to stop it.
And wearing a mask, Jen. And not to cut you guys off, but wearing a mask, going back to the cabal, that's part of the ritual. That is part of the satanic ritual.
And standing 6 feet
apart. Did you see the thing with the dollar bill, that if you turn it a certain way, that it actually has them wearing a mask in 2020?
Yeah.
Isn't that Jackson, that is yes, that is so it's like they knew it. And you know the book 1984, that guy was a prophet.
Mm-hmm.
He was a prophet telling us.
They'd been planning this a long time. They were planning this a long time. And I'm going to come at this from a science perspective because my brother is a geneticist and a biochemist, and he works for the state of Ohio. The COVID test is just a PCR test. And it tests for any virus whatsoever, any cold virus, any flu virus, any stomach bug that's going to cause diarrhea, food poison. It's going to pick up any of that stuff, any kind of virus. And it's over 50% inaccurate, 51% I think it was. And coincidentally, last fall, the man who created that test was murdered, and it was after Honey Sherman and her husband that sold the generic hydroxychloroquine up in Canada were murdered.
Mm-hmm.
And they lived on the same block as Trudeau. And they sold it for $11 and refused to go up in price. And that's also the same thing that decalcifies your pineal gland as well.
You're 100% right. And do you know why they were so against? Jen, you don't believe me about the reptilian?
No, I'm a UFO. I was a MUFON investigator. I truly believe in aliens and everything.
The hydroxychloroquine, right? The reason they were so against it was because it was toxic to them.
It's not
toxic. It would
to the reptilians, maybe.
It's an anti-parasitic.
Yeah.
It's an anti-parasitic.
Wow.
It would kill them because the parasite that's in them is toxoplasmosis, or it's when it's found in kitty litter.
I had that too. I had that antibody when I was pregnant.
Okay, and so that hydroxychloroquine, it would, if they took, like you and I take it, it would cure us. Mm-hmm. For them, it would kill that parasite, which would kill them. That's why they were so adamant about it.
Wow.
Yep. And to what Kelly said with the pineal gland, she's absolutely right, because when they're drinking this adrenochrome, they're killing their kidney. They're killing their kidney, and their body becomes like a sieve. It just pours out of them, and it can't even stay in them.
Well, at least
They need more and more.
At least I know I'm not a reptilian because I take it. Hydrochloroquine. I'm still here. Well, maybe not. Who knows? But yeah.
No, speaking of rituals, when I happened to be doing an investigation, looking into, Looking Glass, they had a procedure that they did dating back to the 1940s where they did it predominantly with children because they're not completely formed yet mentally, their psyche and everything. And they literally put them like the Petruvian Man on a table that spun, had them look at a black and white spiral on the ceiling, and they spun them counterclockwise 33 times. And they discovered that by doing that, and certain blood types are easier to do this with, they could remove the soul from the body and their goal was to insert, I believe, from what they were saying, it sounds like demons or something else that's dying and transferring the soul from one to the other. But if they abuse them as children, mutilate them, torture, it causes the psyche to split. They are easier to separate the soul because they have already split. They're no longer just that one.
Holy shit, this world is fucked up.
Yeah, it's called altars. It's actually, if you look at, Kelly, you and I, you're absolutely right. If you look at Britney Spears, if you look at Miley Cyrus, if you look at Kanye West, what do they all have in common? Just those three people. They've either been at the psych ward, they're crazy, right? It's because of what Kelly's telling you. They had that MK Ultra as a child. As you get older, when you get MK Ultra, you don't remember when you're cloned. You don't remember your dreams, and you only have certain memories, right? And so what happens as they get older, they start to break away. And when they start to break away and they don't want to be a part of the Illuminati of the society anymore, that's when they turn it. There is a chip in them. So when that reptilian's in them, they are chipped, they turn it up. And then they start going crazy. And they go, oh, we got to put them in a psych ward. Oh, they're nuts. Oh, we're putting them in a rehab. And if they really disobey, they just get rid of you. You have a brain aneurysm, you have a heart attack. I mean, if you go back, you commit suicide. If you go back, just go in the NBA. I just did research for a buddy of mine who's a sports agent in NBA. And I found out that in the last 40 years, 80 NBA players have died. Now, you're talking young NBA, have a doctor, right? Have the best medical treatment, right? The healthiest people. 80 people have died. And
not allowed to do drugs.
Right? And one of the reasons is Kobe was going to expose them. And if you see the Black Lives Matter across the court, they're all for it. And it's a shame because what it is doing to these celebrities and what they're doing to the children, they start at a very young age, just like Christians believe that in the Bible it says when you get them young, you'll have them when they're old. So they start very young with them, and then they have handlers, and they put a handler with somebody. And obviously we know who Kanye's handler is. It's Kim Kardashian. And so, they have that handler with them all the time so that when they start breaking off, the handler, puts them in check.
That's crazy. Hey, Kellyanne, one question. With 17, are we ever going to find out who he is or she is, or is it still going back to JFK Jr.?
That's a whole group of people.
I agree.
That's a team of people.
Team?
There's about, I believe they said 10 or about 10. I know. I mean, to me, it's kind of obvious Dan Scavino's on the team. I mean, come on, the comms that he puts out. are just off the chart, undeniable. But, you know, he was approached to run by the military generals, but also the Freedom Caucus. Who's in the Freedom Caucus? Mark Meadows, who's now his chief of staff. Jim Jordan, Louis Gohmert.
So you think they're all part of it?
DeSantis. Oh, they were part of the Freedom Caucus, and they all went with the generals to go ask him to run.
General Waters.
Yeah.
I agree with Kelly. I believe two of them just got in the Pentagon. I think ECU definitely. I mean, if you look at that dude, dude is a bad dude. Ezra. That dude is a bad dude.
If you follow E the Friendly on Twitter, hello. I mean, and you read Ezra's tweets currently, what's going on with, he just got another account. He keeps somehow getting account after account to come right back. I mean, I really, and he's, you know, these are counterterrorism people. I mean, we're in an insurgency right now. And do I think JFK is involved?
Yes, 100%.
I think it's,
who do you think it is?
I definitely believe JFK Jr. is alive. I also believe his favorite cousin. If you've noticed, there's two Vincent Fuscas.
Yes, I met one of them.
There's two different heights. One is 6'1" and one is about 5'7", 5'8", given gravity, you know, getting older. If you look at the jaw lines, JFK Jr. and his cousin Prince Anthony Radziwill look enough alike that with the hair, the glasses, the hat, they could pull off looking like each other. And if you go look at the two Fuscas' chins, they're distinctively different, and they are distinctively JFK Jr.'s jawline and the other Anthony Radziwill jawline.
I believe it.
Now, the taller one, when he is at the event, that is definitely Carolyn Bessette with him. She has that distinctive, beautiful smile and face structure and the nose. Now, with his cousin, the shorter Fusca, it's her sister, Lauren Bessette. She has a dimple in her chin and a distinctive jawline. And my thinking is, you know, they all spent a lot of time together. Maybe they had a thing going together too.
Yeah.
Anthony Radziwill died about a month after his cousin. They called each other blood brothers. They were almost inseparable. And he did have cancer, but he was doing very, very well. His wife, Anthony Radziwill's wife, was in, you know, if you're familiar with Real Housewives of New York City, he had been doing really fantastic. And she didn't expect him to die. They thought he was going to be cured again because he'd already been in remission before and was doing fantastic. And Anthony Radziwill was a writer and a producer, and he won a Peabody and was nominated for a ton of awards for his expose investigation on, get this, Nazism in America. And look at how many drops there were. That's not a typical term to call it Nazism.
Great.
You're going to say communism, not Nazism. That's in the drop.
But for the skeptic on all this, this is the most perfect time for him to come out and tell everybody that what happened. Why don't you think he's doing that?
Well, Jen, I believe his best friend when I was in New York was JFK Jr. That is why Donald Trump ran for president. There's no.
I believe that.
You know why? Because think about it. I'm a billionaire. I'm not going to make any money as a president. I'm going to have 18 assassinations on my life. I'm going to put my family in peril for what? Unless it's something really close to your heart that you're passionate about. And I believe not only JFK Jr., Kelly and Jen, I do not believe that is the only person that is going to surface that we think is dead, and I'll get to that in a minute. But I have been thinking it was Vincent Fusca. There's a picture of him at the White House a couple of months ago thumbs up underneath the photo of JFK. That's number one. Number two, he was here in Pittsburgh. I met him Friday during my rally. He came up, and I shook his hand. I looked directly in his eyes, and I said, hey, I used to buy clothing from you at a clothing store because I wanted to see, what he was going to say, and he had this huge grin. And what happened was the next day he was found, I have a recording, he was actually counting the ballots inside of the building. So, with that all being said, and, Trump said, today? There's going to be a very special person for a 17-second inauguration in his inauguration and whatever. But I think the biggest thing is when I think of everything that's going to happen, right, that we are going to be upside down. Our world is going to be turned upside down. I know Pence is dirty. I said it today. I'm going to say it. Pence is dirty. Trump knows it, right? What I'm going to say is, who would be better if he was the vice president of a person that everybody revered, everybody looked up to? And imagine him coming out and speaking, because he's going to be hated by the Democrats worse than ever, because they're going to think that he stole this election. Yeah. But if
JFK
you show,
Jr. when you meet the world.
Yes. And I'm going to tell you the other person.
Oh, yeah.
Lady Diana, I believe is alive. Again, Trump, to his heart, one of the women that he never courted, that he truly loved, was Lady Diana. And what if he helped Lady Diana? And, what's going on in England and in Europe, they're going to need a peacekeeper over there. And if there's no royalty over there, Queen D becomes Queen of England.
Wow.
So I think that there's going to be a lot of people we're going to see leave us, that people are going to be bonkers and very upset. I'd say probably 75% of Hollywood will be gone. And I think he's going to bring out people that we revered, that we thought were that died, and they didn't, and they faked their death. And I'm going to say there's about 30 to 50 of them.
Yeah. Oh, I believe you.
Including Michael Jackson.
Yep.
Jackson.
Yep, I believe.
Did you see his helipad was a Q?
Yep. Yep.
His helipad was a Q. His Neverland sign had a Q out front with the child sitting on it, making the little loop for the Q.
And I think part of it, and guys understand this, if you remember Michael Jackson, they destroyed his name, his reputation, called him a child pedophile. He was never a child pedophile. Never. He loved kids. But he left Sony as the biggest free agent and owned half of Sony. He owned half of Sony Music when he left. And so when he was going to break off the Illuminati, they said, no. So it's going to be very
everything's going to, very interesting. And it's this Saturday coming up is going to be interesting, and I hope everybody can watch it on if they can't get to the march. But I got a message just about 10 minutes ago. I don't know if you guys got the message through your text message, but it's saying President Trump is requesting that every registered voter send him a snail mail letter, demand a full audit of 50 states. Send it to President Donald J. Trump, White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, Washington, D.C., 20500. He will use this evidence to the Supreme Court. He is asking all of us to send him a hard copy letters as evidence. We, the people, are demanding a full audit. Please do this tomorrow. Have every registered voter in your household send a separate letter. We need to swarm the White House mailroom. Thank you. The above information was reported on Newsmax this evening. President Trump has been censored by Twitter, Facebook, electronic mail, and thank you in advance. He's also, I don't know if you guys, I know we only have a second or two left, but he's also is going to be enabling the emergency broadcast system if he has to. I don't know if you guys heard about that. But
that may be coming.
Yes.
That's coming.
I think it's going to come in the next day or so.
I hope.
Me too.
But thanks for joining us tonight. We're coming to that bewitching hour. Thank you so much, Chris and
Yes.
Kellyanne.
Thank you.
And Chris, tell us where we can get a hold of you or find more information about you.
Sure. You can get me at Flex the Truth on YouTube. You can get me at Flex the Truth without a U on Instagram and on Parler.
Great. And Kellyanne, where can people hear about you? Tell us about where they can hear David.
Well, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Fridays at about 9:15 Eastern Time is the show, and we go live, and it's live crowdsourcing. Indoctrination.com. It's on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook live stream, and I'm on Facebook. I'm also on Parler, and I'm on Twitter.
Great. Well, we thank you so much for joining. It was a very enlightening, great show tonight.
Yes, it was. I learned so much. I'm a happy camper.
And Jason, you're quiet, but you're learning. You'll get it. Don't worry. It's all the new thing, the Great Awakening, and open your eyes, people.
Thank you, guys.
It is a
I
great
appreciate
awakening.
Great.
Thank you for being on.
Thank you so
Great.
much. Appreciate it. Had fun.
And if you need a paranormal investigation, please contact Shawn Kelly at Pittsburgh Paranormal Society on Facebook, or you can reach us on Facebook at Pittsburgh Paranormal, and check out ChasingProphecyRadio.com, and we are on YouTube. Please check out my author page, Jennie Nicassio, my trilogy From the Sky, and all my great stories. And if you think you'd be a great sponsor for the show, please give us an email at ChasingProphecyRadio@gmail.com. Thanks again, guys, and remember to like us on Facebook and Instagram. Stay safe. Good night, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to Chasing Prophecy.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
God bless.
Good night.
Good night.